travel to France. Not unless you're ready to risk never leaving. Because in the next 2 minutes, you'll see sunsets over the Eiffel Tower that feel unreal, food in Lyon that might ruin every other meal in your life, vineyards in Bordeaux that taste like bottled history, beaches in Nice that shimmer like jewels, and Marseille's wild mix of culture that might change the way you see Europe forever. But here's the truth. France isn't what you think it is. It's not just croissants, berets, and the Eiffel Tower. It's alive, it's chaotic, it's intoxicating, and it will challenge every idea you've ever had about what travel should feel like. And yes, I'll show you how dinner with wine in Paris can cost less than a quick meal back home. But stay with me, because later I'll reveal the one city in France that even Parisians whisper about. A place they say is more magical than Paris itself. Quick question before we dive in. If you could only pick one French city to stay in for the rest of your life, which would it be? Paris, Lyon, Bordeaux, Nice, or Marseille? Drop your answer below and hit subscribe so you don't miss the adventures we have coming next. Paris isn't just a city, it's a living contradiction. It's both glamorous and gritty, historic and modern, infuriating and irresistible. Picture yourself standing at Trocadero at sunset. The Eiffel Tower glows golden against the deepening sky, and around you, people from every corner of the world stop to breathe it in. This is the Paris people dream about. But here's the trap. The dream is real, but so is the chaos. The cafes may look perfectly charming, but when you sit down, you realize the coffee is €3, but the experience is priceless. Dinner? Sure, you can drop €200 at a Michelin-starred restaurant, but you can also walk into a neighborhood bistro in the Marais and order steak frites and wine for under 20. And that meal, that cheap meal, may ruin fast food forever. Paris is addictive because it's more than a checklist of sights. The Louvre, Notre Dame, the Champs-Élysées, they're all here. But it's the random corner cafe, the hidden bookshop along the Seine, or the accordion player on the metro that makes you forget what day it is. And Paris rewards wandering. Go to Montmartre, climb the hill past souvenir shops and buskers, and suddenly you're standing where Picasso painted, where Hemingway wrote, where art and history still breathe. The Basilica of Sacré-Cœur towers over the city, offering a view so wide it feels like you're standing above the world. Or slip into the Latin Quarter. Students from the Sorbonne debating at cafes, winding medieval alleys opening into squares lit by lampposts, bookstores stacked to the ceiling with treasures. It's messy, it's crowded, it's alive, and it will stay with you long after you leave. And that's the problem. Paris isn't just a trip, it's a mood, and moods don't end when your flight home takes off. Here's what most travelers never expect. Once you leave Paris, France doesn't fade. It deepens. Take Lyon, for example. Most people don't realize this. Paris is glamorous, yes, but Lyon is where you go to eat like royalty. Known as the gastronomic capital of France, Lyon has more Michelin-starred restaurants per capita than anywhere else in the country. But you don't need Michelin prices to taste heaven. Walk into a Bouchon, the traditional Lyonnaise tavern, and you'll find hearty dishes like culinary, delicate fish dumplings, rich sausages stewed in wine, and praline tarts so sweet they'll stick in your memory forever. Here's the danger. Once you've eaten in Lyon, food everywhere else starts to feel disappointing. But Lyon isn't just food. Stand on the footbridge over the Saône River at night, and you'll see the old town glowing golden in the water, the Renaissance buildings rising like a postcard that somehow feels real. Lyon is where Roman amphitheaters sit beside silk workshops, where murals cover entire buildings with stories of the past, where markets explode with cheeses, sausages, and produce that make grocery stores at home feel lifeless. And here's a little secret. Many Parisians escape here just to eat. That tells you everything. But maybe food isn't enough. Maybe you want chaos. Then Marseille is waiting. If Paris is polished and Lyon is indulgent, Marseille is raw energy. This port city on the Mediterranean is loud, messy, colorful, and completely intoxicating. The markets in the old port overflow with spices, fish, and voices shouting over one another. You smell the sea, taste the bouillabaisse, the famous fish stew, and suddenly realize Marseille doesn't care if you like it or not. It exists on its own terms. And here's the twist. That authenticity is addictive. Because Marseille isn't just about the old port. Hike into the Calanques, those white limestone cliffs diving into turquoise water. And you'll wonder why postcards aren't enough to prepare you for the real thing. Or wander through the Pania district, where street art, crumbling walls, and hidden cafes collide into something that feels alive. It's messy, it's chaotic, and it's unforgettable. Once you've sat on the Corniche, watching waves crash as the sun sinks into the horizon, you realize Marseille doesn't need your approval. And somehow, that makes you fall for it even harder. Then there's Bordeaux. And Bordeaux is different. Imagine vineyards stretching as far as you can see. Rows of vines under golden sun, castles standing quietly in the distance. This is Bordeaux. It's not just wine, it's history in a glass. Here's the trap. You think you'll just do a tasting, but Bordeaux doesn't let you off easy. You sip once, twice, 3 times, and suddenly you're not just drinking, you're time traveling. Every bottle is decades of tradition distilled into liquid memory.
And when you stand in Saint-Émilion, surrounded by medieval walls and cobblestones, you start asking yourself, why do I live anywhere else? But Bordeaux is more than vineyards. The city itself is a jewel of 18th century architecture. Its stone squares glowing in the sun, its riverside promenade filled with locals biking, laughing, and sipping coffee. And here's the kicker. Bordeaux has reinvented itself. Once considered sleepy, it's now buzzing with new restaurants, wine bars, and festivals. Its history and modernity poured into the same glass. Finally, we arrive in Nice, the city that glows like a jewel by the Mediterranean. Walk the Promenade des Anglais and you'll see why people call it the Queen of the Riviera. Pebble beaches shimmering under turquoise water, palm trees swaying lazily, yachts sparkling in the distance. Nice seduces you quietly. Not with noise like Marseille or intensity like Paris, but with sunshine, with beauty, with that feeling of never-ending vacation. And here's the real danger. Winter doesn't feel like winter here. The sun still warms your face, the cafes are still full, and the sea still whispers like it does in July. Once you taste that, how do you go back to gray skies and deadlines? But Nice also connects you to more. A quick train ride takes you to Monaco with its glitz and casinos, or to Aix, a medieval village perched so high it feels like you're walking in the clouds, or Cannes, where red carpets and luxury yachts blur the line between cinema and reality. Nice is a gateway, but once you arrive, you might not want to leave. But here's the biggest trap of all. France isn't just about Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Bordeaux, or Nice. It's about the rhythm of life itself. Long lunches, wine at every table, conversation that doesn't end until midnight, Sunday markets where you buy cheese directly from the person who made it. It's about sitting by the Seine doing nothing and feeling like you're doing everything. It's about the French art of flâner, wandering aimlessly, but with purpose. Because in France, the journey is always the point. This is why people who visit France don't just return with photos. They return with a new pace of life they can't unlearn. So here's your warning. Don't travel to France. Because once you do, Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Bordeaux, and Nice will trap you in ways you never expected. And once you taste life here, you may never want to go back. If this journey inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can join us for more travel tips and experiences that uncover the most beautiful places in the world. And if you loved this trip through France, we know you'll fall head over heels for our journeys through Greece, Portugal, and Spain. Keep your bags ready, your heart open, and let the journey lead you to your next adventure.